You're watching the free version of Mocha Essentials. Follow along with projects and footage with a premium download available at borisfx.com. Hello and welcome to exercise 18 of our Mocha Essentials course, where we are going to be looking at the lens module. Now, the lens module is only found in Mocha Pro, but there are ways of exporting out our lens data that we generate with Mocha Pro into applications that don't have the Mocha Pro plugin. Let's talk about why we might like to use the lens module. Because what the lens module is a way of calibrating Mocha so it understands the lens that the material was shot with and then can use that data to get more accurate tracking or insert information. Now, the need for this workflow is much more apparent when we're dealing with lenses that exhibit some sort of bigger distortion. And this is mainly things like wide-angle lenses or anamorphic lenses, or even older vintage lenses where the manufacturing of the lens was such that the image starts to distort as we move across our shot. If we take a look at this building here, these are meant to be nice big straight lines, but this was shot with a wide-angle lens, so we can see that there's a certain bowing here and here. If I come in here and see if I can draw a straight line from here down to here, let's come over on this side. You see our line isn't exactly straight. We do that same sort of thing if we go from this point down there all the way up here. You can see that this line isn't straight either. There's a certain bowing that happens within our image. The reason that's important is if we wanted to insert something into here, or if we were going to do some paintwork across the frame, dealing with non-straight lines in that case and trying to put in data that is based off of straight lines, we can start to see mismatches between where we insert a clip and where it actually should be sitting. Let's see that in practice. I'm going to come into Mocha Pro, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in the classic workspace so we have all the tools that we need available to us straight away. And I'm going to come into my lens module. Now, there are a couple of different ways of calibrating our lens. We have calibration on the clip itself, or we have the ability to import calibrated data from a different clip. So, for example, if we've taken a calibration chart, created our data out of that, we can then apply that across other clips. But let's see if we can do that on this particular clip. I'm going to skip over this left-hand side for now and come to our calibration lines. And I'm going to click Locate Lines. And then Mocha's going to go away and it's going to analyze the image and try and find a whole load of straight lines for us. And we're going to use those to try and build up a calibration map. So under minimum line length, we can make this bigger or smaller to kind of purge out some of the shorter lines, which is very handy to do. And once we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and start to create up our lines. Okay, so let's zoom in just a little bit so we can see this a bit better. First thing we have to do is to click New Line. And then I can click on one or more of those straight lines that Mocha has given us to show where that single line would be. Then when I'm done with that, I need to click on New Line again, or use the keyboard shortcut N for new. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to do the same thing. So find another line. That's good. Now, if I forget to hit N, or I forget to click on New Line and try to select another one, we're going to be feeding it bad data. So it's trying to reconcile these two, and it's going to bring me, this line here. This is not good. So I can click on that line again, and that removes it from that equation. I can also undo, but just clicking on the line is the simplest way. And I'm going to do that a few times. I'm going to hit N and bring up my new line. I'm going to hit N again. And what I'm going for here is I'm trying to cover a good distance across the image, both vertically and horizontally. So most of this stuff seems to be vertical, so it's going up, but we'll get to some of the horizontal stuff later. In fact, here we can probably take some of that. I don't want to take like stuff that's really, really close to each other. So keep hitting N, new line. Nothing else I can get there. Actually, that's not very interesting. So I'll take that away. Try and find something here. And I've run out of good auto-generated ones here. I can just take my line length down and start bringing in some of the shorter lines. So like this one down here, I can hit N and then start taking in all of these ones that are going across the bottom of this section of the building. And I do think I've sort of run out of lines on this one. So just to make sure I've got enough, I'm going to turn my minimum line length up really, really high. And that's only going to show me the ones that I have created. So this is actually looking quite good. So once we've got that generated up, we now need to tell it what sort of calibration to do. And most of the time it's going to be a 1 parameter calibration. So this is where there's, all the distortion is coming out generally from a center point. We do have other parameters down here for anamorphic lenses and equirectilinear, which is how you set up 360 footage for VR. We're going to skip over equidistant lines and calibrate center for the second and just hit on calibrate. And Mocha's going to go have a little think, analyze what data we've given it, and come out with a value that describes that lens distortion. So if I hit render on this now, you can see it's going to undistort based off of this value. If I wanted to redistort, I would have distort there. If I hit render now, it's going to basically double up on the distortion. So that's not what we want in this case. If I come up to the top of the viewer, this is where we choose our view again. So I can look at the selected layer. That's what we had before. And that's our undistorted one. Another way of looking at this, if we go back into the selected layer, is to turn on our grid. And you can see on the grid there, we have the distortion of our lens. Now let's just copy this value. Just going to protect this value here for a second, because what I can also do is you can manually dial this in if you want to, if you're feeling brave enough, so that it matches up with the distortion that you're seeing. This way is very much trial and error if you're just working on regular footage, because you're basically just guessing. That's why we'll paste in the regular data back in there. But if you're working with a calibration chart, that can be fairly handy to do. These other values down here will only show up when we're working on 2 parameter or anamorphic distortions. Just paste that data back in. There we go. Now, if you're working in Mocha Pro and you want to take this data out to use in other applications, so that anyone with this data can undistort or redistort their image, you can export your lens data right here. And we can take it out either as the Imagineer lens data, and you can put in your make and model and serial number. So every lens is unique. Or you can take it out as Mocha Lens for After Effects data using the Mocha Lens plugin, or take it out as a distortion map clip. This will take it out as an ST map that you can use in, for example, Nuke to run a calibrated workflow in there. And we can see that the distortion map that we're taking out is slightly bigger than the 1920 by 1080 clip that we originally brought in. That's because it's going to fit this new undistorted frame size. So I can save this in here, call it lens data, and save that out as a separate clip, which looks like this. And this is all the information we need to distort and undistort our clip. So far, we've learned how to identify images that are quite distorted and will need our lens calibrated workflow. And then we have gone into Mocha Pro and we've created up our calibration lines and calibrated our lens out of that. We're going to take a quick break now. And when we come back, we're going to start to use that data on this shot and see how useful it's going to be. So I'll see you after the jump in part 2 of exercise 18, the lens module. You've been watching the free version of Mocha Essentials. To download all videos, projects and footage, purchase the premium version available at borisfx.com.